Okay, we have ABC here. Alan Bergman for Congress, 2008. Welcome. How are you doing?
Great.
Now, what are you running for?
Running for the United States Congress, 15th Congressional District.
All right. Why do you want to do such a thing like that?
Well, I see the need to fill the spot that's been held by career politicians thus far, and I think it's time for a change. I think that to just hand the mantle of leadership to the next generation, to continue the inadequacies and the overlooking of important issues just has to be dealt with.
All right. Your issues are?
Well, I've been involved with a number of issues. One is bringing more capital into the community through NASA and through developing ethanol and other grain products. And I think those are very important. I think that there are programs set up to improve the water system, and that we should look more closely at the water on the St. John's, which is needs further investigation and needs further improvement as to quality. I think there should be some desalinization brought in at this point.
Desalinization?
Yeah, I think that we've got a lot of ocean here.
Yeah,
to convert some of it into drinking water, portable water as they would call it, is a valuable thing to do.
Is it practical, desalinization?
If you want to continue building huge developments, I think it's necessary and it's essential.
What's the cost per gallon?
I haven't got the numbers on it, but whatever it is, we need it. What would you pay for a glass of water if you need it?
If you desalinated water, would you put it in the regular water system, or would you make it a separate type of a service? Because you're certainly not going to mix it in for laundry and showers and all that stuff, are you?
Wherever it needs to be placed would be determined by the amount of need that the marketplace had for it. And it would have to meet the EPA standards of drinking water quality.
Well, for sure.
So it's, so
okay,
really
well, let's go on to NASA. Why are you so keen about NASA?
Well, NASA being a major employer, not only in our community, but in the state of Florida, has got some issues. There are 6,000 jobs scheduled for layoff when they switch over to the new space program.
When's this now?
2010.
10.
And it's coming up on us quickly. And rather than just saying, it's the federal government's job to continue to fund and keep the program going at maximum capacity, I think it would make more sense that the private sector stepped up and took a more active role.
Now, if they're going to retire in 2010, you mean all the scientists and all of the support people would be laid off, but I thought the new program was right behind it. I thought the president wanted to go to Mars.
There is some talk about the Mars program, which is Orion. Orion, they're not quite ready to do, and they're looking at a gap of about 16 months in there. And they'll be able to keep some staff on, but they're going to lose some staff. The staff they're going to lose is a well-trained staff, highly technical people that are very hard to replace. And I have spoken to Space Florida, Steve Kohler, who's the head of Space Florida, and he expressed some concern about that. And certainly Economic Development Corporation, Linda Weatherman, we've all had that issue.
On the new space program, whatever that year comes, are they still planning to launch from here?
The launches have not been taken off the table, and there is one, the X-1, which is a private commercial launch that they're looking at and they're planning on using here. But the number of launches will be less, and the interim time has to be filled, otherwise we lose those people. And that's what I'm working on.
All the satellite services are out of here, and all of the military launches are out of here.
Well, military isn't. Department of Defense has its own side of the Cape, and is isolated, and never the twain shall meet.
I never knew that.
Department of Defense, they mention it in
I thought they all came in there and they all just said, okay, you're next, you're going up.
Nothing like that. Department of Defense has put up a wall and said, this is our area, and what we do here is proprietary and in a national security interest, that it remains private, and that's the way the Department of Defense...
But the guys don't pitch in and help them at all?
Oh, yeah, there's communication of ideas and system material, but as far as Department of Defense, they have their own schedule and agenda. Right.
Now, you're saying we got problems with our water system as far as...
I just see... Well, there was a whole big article in Florida today about the water wars. And, other
we have a war now over water?
Well, we haven't come to war yet, and I hope we never do. But I think there's more of a demand, and it increases by building new communities, and we have to be vigilant to make sure that those communities are given enough water at the same time without depleting the St. John, without disturbing the aquatic life that's been here for a very long time. And you know, it's nice to be able to go out boating once in a while, not to say this water is now going to be used for generating power, or this water is going to be used for watering lawns or keeping cities going.
Yeah. Is the St. John's running short of water?
Well, it's come down a little. There's a lot of studies being done, and I think we should pay attention to what the results of those studies will be. There are a lot of groups like the Sierra Club and other groups that have been taking a careful look at this, and you know, it's nice to have monitoring of what's going on, because the time to avoid the problem is now.
Yeah.
Not to wait till someone gobbles up all the water and you turn the tap on and nothing comes out.
So desaltization is one of your approaches.
Mm-hmm.
What do you feel about, as you know, we're going through this wonderful world of energy problems over oil and electricity on that. Are you for a nuclear power plant down here?
Well, what I've been learning about nuclear energy is that it's become much more efficient and a lot safer than things like 3 Mile Island, which you remember.
Well, that was negligence, more or less.
Whatever. If it was allowed to happen, we wouldn't want to see it happen again.
Yeah.
Nuclear seems to be one of the quicker solutions, although we shouldn't give up on solar, wind power, tide power, and all of the others, and even the ones that haven't been discovered yet.
Yeah, but we got the clock is ticking now.
The clock has been ticking. It's just a matter of
somebody to recognize it's running.
Well, it's running. Okay. I'll tell you from my own personal experience, when I see that there is a need and there is venture capital available, solutions come up fairly quickly.
No.
And that's happened throughout our country.
Well, since your background is in the investment community, has anybody come up with anything solid in the solar energy department yet?
Well, solar has been used, and I think what will happen is as more people adopt solar as their method of energy, they will bring down the price and more people will be able to obtain it. I think it's a bit pricey at this point, and as it develops, I think it'll come down to where it can become more of a mainstay energy source.
All right. Now you got into this stuff about ethanol.
Mm-hmm.
Is ethanol practical?
Well, from what I've been able to find out thus far is ethanol will be practical and is practical, but my caveat on that is to do it efficiently, not to start with grain products like wheat and corn, which are basic staples for our food supply.
You got it.
And rather than competing for those products, I think we should start at a level of sugar, rather than starting with wheat, corn, turning that into sugar, and then taking the sugar and distilling it further. Let's start down the chain. Let's start at sugar, which is cleaner. It has less impurities in it. So I've been reading things where, you know, the wheat and the grain products have had some impurities that have gummed up engines and
that's what I was saying.
And fall out of precipitate out of solution.
And it's also being subsidized. So you feel that sugar could be a form of generating a fuel?
Definitely.